All right, guys, we're watching the Miami Made show. Listening, actually, to Miami Made show, right? I guess we'll watch it on
Watching,
video.
yeah.
Yeah, listening and watching. We're right here in beautiful Miami at the Kimpton Hotel, Angler's Hotel, on the rooftop pool. Thank you, Kimpton Hotels. Thank you, Angler Hotel. On South Beach, on 6th and Washington, we have our Bobby Radicals here with me, my co-host, and the amazing Laurent from Nightlife Miami, man. What's going on, man?
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Good to
Yes,
see
thank you for coming.
Everyone, when they see your face, I have friends of mine that, were born in Miami. They're like, that buddy of yours, the French guy. And I'm like, yeah, Laurent? They're like, yes. And then they'll see a picture of me and you, and they're like, that guy's the coolest guy.
Yeah, well, not everybody is that happy. just a little story. So, one of the last venue I worked for was Joya Beach. And I pop up on a Sunday for brunch before my shift at the lounge. And the mayor is there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
From the beach or in Miami?
No, from Miami.
Yeah, Francis.
Yes, Francis. And he's there with a bunch of people that I know from back
Way
from the
back.
clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they introduced me to the mayor, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I remember you when I couldn't get into the living room.
You didn't let me in the club.
Exactly. I turned so red in a second. It's all good. Don't worry. I'm sure there's a lot of people like me. Say yeah. So
Yeah, the good Miami guys, even if they evolve into something, in that case, like a politician, they remember it because it was what happened,
Yeah.
but they get it. They know, But for us, it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah, but it was a little embarrassing to tell you the truth.
I imagine. So, Laurent, tell me a little bit. You've been in the game for a long time. Tell me how you got into the game, how you got here. Tell us how that story happened.
It was 96. I was in Paris and I was really bored at the time. And I had two friends. One was living in Miami Beach. The other one was living in LA. So I picked up my phone and I called my friend Hugh that was in Miami. He picked up and said, look, come over. Don't worry. It's amazing here. I'll get you a job in no time. It was what you have been doing in Paris because I'd started nightlife in Paris in 85, actually. So that's been already, it was a while that I've been working.
It was a hot spot at that time.
Yeah. And I started my first gig was with David Guetta, actually.
Wow.
When he was DJ for the first time himself. So we have been friends since 85. Anyway, so you know what? He was so excited for me to come over that I bought a ticket. I had about $400 in my pocket in a suitcase. And here I am in Miami. It's in, I think it's 1997 in February. At the time, he had a studio in Washington at 8, so I was sleeping on the floor.
Yeah, all of us.
And a week after I arrived to Miami, he introduced me to Eric Milon and Francis Milon.
Wow.
That had just opened the living room.
Right there.
Yeah, right behind us.
Yeah. And then I was blessed enough that Eric said, "Yeah, sure, come work for us." So I didn't work the door right away. I worked the rope at the VIP.
Yeah, the VIP.
Yeah, which I was not crazy about. And then Eric, felt that was not my forte. So then he put me at the door with John at the time.
Yeah.
So and that's how it started.
Big John, right?
The small John Lamy.
Oh, little John.
Yeah.
That he went to Mint later.
Yes.
Yes,
he went
John.
to-
How's he doing? Have you seen him?
Yeah, well, not really because he has been in totally different path to religion.
Oh,
and,
okay.
no
Interesting.
more
Good for
nightlife
him.
at all. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So I started in '97 at the living room, and then I was blessed enough that from '97 to 2017, it didn't stop for a second.
Wow.
I think I've been working every place in Miami.
Yeah, and
almost.
you're still at some of the hot spots too. Bagatelle,
Bagatelle,
right? Yeah.
Especially with my Tuesday night dinner party. Yeah.
That's infamous party. It's famous, legendary. Everybody talks about it. Friends from Chile, from other countries that come, and that's the first thing they say. And I'm like, all right, come on, let's go, and I'll see you there. And it's like, I remember when it was over by the W.
Yeah, 8 years strong I was that
Yeah.
party already.
Yeah.
So '97, the living room. '98, I opened. Then I opened Nikki Beach. '98. I work at Level with Jerry Kelly and Noah. I worked with Louis. I opened Space in '99. I opened Mint in 2001. I opened my own place, Grass, in
Grass, I
2003
remember.
in the Design District. Then I opened Ink in 2006. And then from there I went to a promotion afterwards. And I worked with. We started. At the time, I started the Wednesday at the Baoli. My
Yes.
boyfriend is out of town. Then Monday at STK, Then Thursday at Villa Azur. Then Tuesday at Bagatelle.
These are some of the hot spots.
Yeah.
If you don't know, these are some
Yeah.
of the real Miami hot spots.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And just to talk a little bit on that same line, what do you see different now from back then that made back then a little more special than today?
Everything is different.
Everything.
Absolutely everything.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand it. Give us a little bit of a story of what it was like. Celebrities.
I mean, first of all, back then, we were living in a society where it was okay to say things and act a certain way. There was no social media, no phone, no discrimination. I mean, there was, it was much easier to turn away people at the door, to try to have a certain crowd, dress a certain way, which today it's completely different.
Completely.
Especially with social media, with Instagram. I mean, everybody's walking on eggs. Everybody's very careful also. So it's becoming extremely difficult to operate a business the way that you want.
Right.
Without being said racist or
Especially for a high-end crowd or affluent crowd or
Absolutely.
celebrities.
So I think in the 90s, a lot of celebrities loved to come to Miami because that was not a big deal. They were not, they weren't chased everywhere. They were just going to places, and again, people had no phone, so there was a quick
No
picture.
paparazzi.
No, nothing.
Nobody pressured them.
I saw, when I used to work the door, the living room, I saw so many of them. It was all year long, all the time.
Who stood out to you? Like, name some celebrities that stood out to you. You have a lot of pictures with a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest one was Dennis Rodman, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
Because that guy started working from Washington and 13, down to the living room, and as he was walking, rallying people with him.
Entourage.
Which by the time he got to Washington and 6, he had about 150 people behind him. So when we opened the rope for him, that was a wave of humans and smashed us against the window. That was a little scary.
But the bar made money.
Yeah.
The
But
bar
that was an event. I had Michael Keaton
Yes.
jumping the ropes.
Wow.
Not even
Batman.
acknowledging me, just jumping the ropes. Prince going around in his limo 2 or 3 times, the window barely open, before it stopped. A lot of them,
There was a pool table in there, right?
Yeah.
I remember playing pool with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
And then like Michael Jordan is there, and it's like all these people, Janet Jackson, and it was just like, wow.
But that was in the beginning, the transition from the Strand to the living room. Then after that, if I remember correctly, they got rid of the pool table because there was so many people.
And they opened up the little hip-hop room in the back.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
sick. With
so
Rick
nice.
Delgado, right?
Yeah.
Love Rick.
That was such a
Rest in
good time.
peace.
So what would you say are some of your favorite moments or places or venues or nightclubs from the 90s that stood out to you, that you worked with, were part of, owned, promoted, or whatnot, or just visited, that you loved?
Most of them were magic.
Yeah.
I think I barely never missed a Monday night at the Liquid at Black Pussycat.
Flatback, yeah.
Every Monday night. That was just the best place to be. It was
It
so
was.
fun. Every local was there.
Yeah.
You could have just come on your own, and you were never alone because you knew everyone.
knew everybody, yeah.
Everybody.
That was-
And they had that little hip-hop room and the glassed-in VIP.
And I remember downstairs, what was his
That
name?
was the pot room. That's
the
where we
blue
smoked
room,
the pot
the blue bar downstairs, right?
I don't remember the name.
The Liquid Lounge. Liquid
Lounge,
Lounge.
yeah.
Liquid Lounge. There I remember seeing the lead singer for Smashing Pumpkins, Madonna. Obviously Ingrid was there, Chris, and so forth. And they were sitting at a table, and I somehow walked by, and I ended up getting asked to sit at the table. And here I am, and sitting at this table, and it's Madonna, and I forget his name, the lead singer for Smashing Pumpkins. And they were doing a party for him. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at my girlfriend at the time, my daughter's mom, later on. And I'm going, wow, this is Miami. What parties or events, maybe from Ocean Drive or house parties like we mentioned and we know of, that you walked in and you were like, wow, this is Miami. Like this,
Well, for one, John Turchin.
He's over here.
with the White House. The daytime party were amazing.
Yeah, we were
at
just
the
talking
time.
about his house
Yeah.
on Hibiscus or Palm, right? Palm,
Yeah.
one of them. Yeah.
What's his name? The German guy.
Kramer.
Thomas
Kramer, of course. You cannot talk about Miami in the 90s without talking about
Yes,
Kramer.
yes.
He was just if you like him or you don't like him, regardless.
Yeah, he was a presence.
He was just a big part of what Miami was
Yeah,
about.
real estate and nightlife,
Yeah.
both in those parties, those
Yeah,
infamous
and
parties.
craziness,
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. Him, of course, Lenny Rodner, house parties as well. Then afterwards came Lenny Augustine, Also,
Yes.
You know,
Yeah. He's still doing parties today there.
once in a while.
Yeah. For Halloween, right?
Yeah, Halloween. Yeah.
What are some of the moments you remember most from the 90s, whether it was, let's say, like a Versace moment or film or modeling that stood out to you that you think are important that made Miami what it is today?
To me, it's not a specific moment.
Correct.
It's really, there is a certain time between 97 and I would say until maybe 2007, 8, where just Miami was just magic, and it was for many different reasons. One, because it was a very cheap place to live. Okay, so you were not stressed about paying bills, and even though we had a high season in a low season, it was okay if you were not working during low season. Everybody was able to afford living. Nobody was stressed. Everybody was in good mood for that reason. So that's number one. Number two, because there was no traffic in that city at the time. I love that. There was no traffic.
Yeah.
I knew all the cops in South Beach, because they were all working
at
as
night,
off-duty cops somewhere. Were very friendly. A lot of models also everywhere. So a lot of production company coming and shooting. Like we talked about, a lot of celebrities. Europeans used to love to come in wintertime. And the difference between back then and now is back then, these guys used to stay 2-3 months, again, because it was very cheap.
Yeah.
Now they come a week because it's way out of price. It's way too expensive. Yeah. So for all these reasons, it just, like I said, it was just not a moment. That was really, I think it was a decade where just Miami was just magical. And it was not, you didn't feel that growth on steroids. Yeah. Because that's really what I feel now about that city. It's just too much. It's just too much, too fast, non-stop. And it's scary. To me, it's scary.
Yeah, it's changed completely. And the funny thing is the folks today, a lot of people that are coming here, moving here, living here, even some young people who are doing podcasts and social media, they act like they know this city, and they really don't. Have you run into some of those videos online? You're like, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, they don't know. What would you say to those or to the audience, of the difference? Like, it's really not, like, today is not better than what it was back then. Back then was something very special.
It was special. It was, as much as this country is based and run by money, because this is really the American value, Miami was not about money back then. Money was there. Money was flowing. Everybody was making a good living. People were spending.
But it wasn't as materialistic.
It was not.
Yeah.
So, and it was much more social. Number one, phone changed a lot of these things because I think a lot of young people are not social because they're more focused on what they can post on Instagram than just living the moment. They don't have anything to say. Back then it was so easy, just
conversational,
at the bar,
fun,
meeting people from all over the place. Become friends with that one, this one, and there was a lot of people coming back very often to Miami. Now it's a little bit like Vegas. You see these people coming for a short period of time. They don't really come back, or they do come back for the next Art Basel, the next F1 Grand Prix,
or Ultra.
But not not the way it used to be before.
Yeah, they would stay here for months. You would catch up and hang out with them and friend them. So, now it's like if you don't catch them in that moment, you really don't build those bonds or those relationships like back then.
Exactly,
and they're special.
So, it was. Like also like Billy was saying, it's nice to be able to walk to a place and knowing that you can have the same good time that the guy next to you that is worth a few hundred millions, because at the end of the day a drink was $6 or $10.
Yes,
a bottle was $100. So everybody was able to afford something. Everybody was able to shine their own stars. Now it's a completely different story. It's either you are part of this or you just don't go because it's
too expensive.
Well, a lot of that attributes to the rents, because it's not the bars that want to charge all that money; they have to pay the rent, and that's
it changed completely.
Yeah, the whole dynamics changed. The paradigm of how you could sell a square foot. Back in the day, you could sell beer and make money, but then that's when bottle service came in. they got rid of the dance floors and put in couches, and you got to pay a couple $1,000s there. Now but that was not to be mean. That was just to in order to keep the place open.
Right.
Well,
to
I
pay
mean,
their bills.
Yeah, pay the bills. It was just economics. It was not.
If you remember what happened in the 90s is because bottle service already existed in Europe.
Right.
So when Europeans were coming to clubs like the Living Room, they were asking for a table
And
to buy a bottle.
Les
you know.
Bandouches.
Yeah, Chaos, Les Bandouches, exactly. So at the time, it was not about minimum spending, but just people were just sitting, buying a bottle, buying 2 bottles. Then at first, they started introducing bottle minimums. You got to buy 2 bottles, 3 bottles.
Right.
Where it really changed, and it changed with one person actually, really, is when they started booking these big DJs, where they had to put money minimum on tables,
And the door.
I went crazy.
Yeah.
And I went to certain heights that are just insane.
Yeah.
And I know because I've been there. I've seen, I worked for these places where they were asking. Sometimes I was embarrassed when I was talking to a client to tell him what was the minimum for that night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It went from somewhere like when a bottle was 100, 150 bucks, then went to 500, and then to 1,000, then to 2,500, and now it's somewhere above 10K for.
And then you still have to add 30% to that on top of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it changed completely.
So yeah, it just it's I think the entire hospitality game is a little perverted, in this city.
Yeah.
And I understand, rent are expensive, and it's expensive to run a business. But this is there is a certain greed now
Yeah.
that didn't exist before.
Back then, yeah.
I remember back then the Living Room was making 6-7 million a year, which was amazing. But the place was busy 7 days a week.
Yes.
Yes.
No stress. People were coming in and out, and they were making their money. Of course, the rent was not what it is today, but this is what was making the magic. You could go out any night of the week. The place was busy.
Yeah, Monday.
Now-
Well, what
Tuesday.
was very unique about the living room is the staff. The staff, that was really crucial about a successful club. If you have the best staff and you let in the right people, it was.
Yeah, but back then, Bobby, and you know it, you knew everyone.
Yes.
Now you don't know anyone.
Yes.
Correct.
Because now there's so many venues and people don't stay. There's such a turnover that at the end you can walk to a place where you don't know absolutely no one. And it's frightening when you work in this industry and you work like this. I don't know the doorman, I don't know the host, I don't know the bartenders, I don't know the server, I don't know
And
the
they don't know
managers.
us.
And that's
I don't-
what was so
yeah.
special about back in the day, because you knew everybody. We were a family.
Yeah,
Family.
exactly.
Yeah. Actually, when South Beach actually started, we had a party every night of the week, and then that turned into 2 parties, and then that turned into 3 parties,
yeah.
and then when it got like that, it was, was just. But it started out with just 1 party a night, and we were loyal, and we went.
Yeah.
And there was, back then also there was a very few people that had, that reputation also creating good parties.
Yeah, the charisma.
Michael Capone,
Yeah.
Tommy Pooch.
Correct.
And that was great because actually, you knew that when Tommy was putting a party together and Michael was putting a party
What you
together,
were walking
it
into.
would be a good party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
And they have
everybody on
themes
earth
that-
is a promoter, so you
Yeah.
don't even know,
And we had very special invitations back then, elaborate
Yeah.
invitations. Now that you actually could touch and you could read and everything. Now it's this is very
Digital.
convenient, but it's
Detaching.
it's hurt us a lot.
So I miss those times for all
Yeah.
these reasons, and I miss those guys as well. They were
Yeah.
they were great.
What's good about the Miami family nightlife hospitality industry is we're like a family. It's like a fraternity. Like we all still stay in touch. We all connect. We all know each other. We all love each other. We all respect each other. What's funny is these folks coming into Miami today, they don't know who we are. They don't know what it was before, and they try to kind of say how Miami is. And a lot of us see it. I see it all the time online. I'm
Angelo,
like,
because what's coming to the Miami, the corporations.
yeah.
They're big groups with big money out of Vegas, LA, wherever. They're opening every week, 15 million, 20 million. It's just corporate.
Yep.
It's a corporate world.
It's money.
It
Like
was-
Vegas.
Now, before that, I was a family business. It was
Yep.
completely different.
Mom and pops, right? Yeah. Locals.
Back then, you could walk. When I used to own grass,
Yep.
anyone who was in the business was coming. They were comped. They had no tab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's something that was everywhere you go. I mean, I don't remember paying a drink anywhere.
Yes.
Now
It's unheard of. You don't have
doesn't
nothing's
exist
comped anymore.
Yeah. So there was that sense of hospitality, people that used to belong to the industry, which completely disappeared. Completely disappeared. Yeah.
Well, Miami also had a group of promoters that clubs would bring them in there. These certain guys, Mike Paris, I forget the names, but they, the clubs invite them in, give them bottles because they had the energy, and then the other guys would come in and see this guy with all the bottles and all the girls, and goes, I want to be like that, and so they put these people in there,
the anchor tables,
at the anchor tables, yes.
All the promoters that I've been working with, or that worked for me. Between the early 2000s, these guys were not promoters; they were hosts, which is completely different.
Completely different. Thank you.
There is
because there's a difference
between the promoter and the host. The promoter carries and builds the night and the event. The host
is there,
just sits there.
And then it was not based on an application where you're inviting people you don't know. They actually had.
Your friends, your contacts.
Call your friends.
I had a list with names and phone numbers. I would call them one by one.
And that's what these guys were good at, what they were doing.
And they don't have the same hustle or drive to do it. I look at the scene right now, and I speak to young promoters, and I'm like, right now, anybody could take over this scene right now. You know how? And they'll be like, how? And I'm like, go out every night, meet 10, 15 people, friend them, do that for 12 months, watch how many people you're going to have as your friends now to come to one of your events or locations or venue. Nobody's doing that. They're just social
they were shortcuts. Shortcuts. Nobody wants
to
do the hard work.
I said, another thing, you can go down the beach, walk up and down the beach, go meet some people, go to the hotels. I start giving them the strategy, the old school strategy. And they look at me like, no, I'm not doing that.
And honestly, I really think this is the reason why myself and a group of people that I was working with were very successful with the dinner parties that we started, and all of them, because we had a loyal followers, friends and clients. So it was taking some time, but we were able to really, take off pretty quickly because we had. So it was a strong team of people. I mean, back then there was people like Hassan Radwan, Nicolas Clichy, Oliver J, Yannick. So many of them. But
Michael.
Michael as well. These days, I see those kids. Especially, for promoting for them, is just inviting a bunch of girls that they don't know because they use an application.
They just pick them up, and I got a free table.
They don't have, there's a very few of them that still work that way, but it completely disappeared.
They don't get it at all. I've spoken to a lot of young promoters, and I tell them, right now you can really dominate the scene. They're like, how? And I give them the tools, the strategies, the knowledge of how we did it back in the days. They're like, no. And I'm like, well, then that's why you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. Oh, I want to be Dave Drummond. You're not gonna be Dave Drummond, because he took a long time to build his name. Likewise, all of us did, and all our friends in the industry, we all built it out of relationships. These kids today, they don't have that. No. I'll do an event where I'll invite some young promoters, because sometimes I like to mentor them, right? See if I can get some talent out of them. I'll do an event, and I'll talk to them about a dinner party. I'll do the dinner party. 30, 40 of my friends will show up, and they'll have 2 or 5, 6, 7, 8 girls, and I'm like, hey man, where are your friends?
I agree.
They're like, how did you do that? I said, I just text my friends, and they all showed up. They don't get it. They don't have that concept. So I think it's going to hurt the industry in the long run, because it'll either have to become so corporate or so Vegas style, where there's no connection, there's no relationship, there's no following.
It's either this, or I think at one point, someone smart enough will recreate a small venue, which will be based on those principles, and we'll get all these people missing that, going to all these places that will come back to it, because that's at the end of the day, this is what people want. And people need that communication, that love, that that
relationship,
that bond.
The bond.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've said that many times to young promoters. They act all cool and stuff. I meet them, and they're like, "Oh, I want to meet you. I see that you were in Nightlife." They come up to all of us, right? Over time in history, and then when I start challenging them, I'm like, well, what do you do for promotion? Well, I just do this. I put it on social media, and I just send it. I'm like, no, man. I have an email database. I have contacts. I used to call one by one, all my friends, and they would show up, and they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? I go, man, we used to walk up and down, pass out flyers. They're like, pass out flyers? They look at you weird.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I could do this right now myself and corner this market like really fast, because no one's doing it. No one's doing it. I would have a team. I would build a team of hosts, and I would say to my hosts, this already, like after the 90s, I started knocking entertainment, and I would get a group of hosts, and I'll get all these, personable, young, popular kids from different areas, Key Biscayne, Miami Lakes, down south, Coral Gables, and I would build a team, and I would say to them, this is what we're doing, this is the plan, this is the instructions, this is how we're going to do your promotion. And I'll give them all these different, things that they have to do. You have to book tables, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I remember back then, they had the hustle. And then I would model it for them, right? And they would do it, and they would become successful. And some of them became their own promoters,
But
right?
also, Angelo, back then, you were also. It was not just inviting. It was not about just booking tables. It was also inviting buddies, friends, just your friends to create a vibe around you.
Yeah.
Even though you will take care of these guys for the night, that's okay. But you needed also that,
the atmosphere, create
The
the
energy.
filler crowd.
And then what the magic of nightlife, and that's that's what I experienced in the 80s in Paris, and I was in New York as well. It was that melting pot.
Yes.
Gay, straight,
Yes.
models,
Models, professionals, celebrities.
socialites, people with money, people.
That's
poor
the
people
crowd
with
that
style,
we all love,
and
yeah.
that
creates the magic.
Yeah, exactly.
And most of these young people, they don't have that. You size them down. There's they have their group of friends from UM, or they have their group of friends from their wherever they live, but they don't bring in a different crowd. So that party ends up dying out because your friends are like, it's the same thing. It's the same people. You come out to one of these parties of all the folks that we know that are in the industry, and you would see everybody and it's like, wow, this is cool. It's like new faces and different crowds and different places and different cultures, and it was fun. Like you're saying, what you're saying, there's one of the most important things I've heard most people not say, but I think all our friends know in the industry that are old school or originals. That was the magic. It was creating that mix, that melting pot of a crowd that creates the ambiance and the energy and the fun of the night.
And the recognition as well.
Yeah.
Like I say, back then you knew that, if you were, sending me a friend of yours, I would mention your name. If I was working the door hosting, it meant something.
Yes.
Now it just, people don't care. You know what I'm saying? So, and people love that. People love to be that recognition, that attention, that
The
feeling
ego.
special.
Yeah.
No, just feeling special for
Yeah,
a minute.
just
That's,
feeling
you,
Hey, I got my
your
friend over there,
your
he's gonna
minute
hook
of
us up.
fame,
Yeah.
you bring a group of friends, and then, the doorman knows you, the bartender knows you, and you love that.
It's a personal touch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and back then you would walk into, let's say, even our friend John Turchin who's here, you walk into Club New, you'd walk in and you'd see the crowd, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Now you walk in somewhere and it's like, nobody's like, there's nothing. There's no energy. Everybody's on their phone or whatever, and there's like nothing going on.
You can't compare.
You can't compare it to the 80s or 90s,
Yeah.
even the early 2000s, like, that whole decade. It's completely different right now, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, especially here on the podcast, because there's an opportunity for somebody who's very smart and clever to, like you said, open up a smaller spot, right?
And that would happen. I'm sure it would happen.
Yeah, and then bring in that same old school style, and before you know it, everybody on the outside is going to be like, what's happening there? Why is that place so special? Well, relationship. They're creating that magic that Miami and South Beach
and when you
nightlife
do
has lost.
so, you can operate 7 days a week.
7 days a week, you could be open in a smaller venue
Exactly.
and still create that energy.
Which now
that's-
it's not possible. These guys
Nobody's
are,
done it. Yeah.
No.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because that's been on the back of my head for a while now. I look around, I'm like, what's missing?
And I'm going to tell you what is the what is important to a lot of these people that run and owns places is the gross sales at the end of the night.
Right.
The numbers.
Right.
Look, this is what we did, and then next year we have to beat this, and it's all it all comes down to just sales and
yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Versus longevity.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
versus, few of them manage to get reputation and numbers, but at the end of the day, if you just look at the numbers and you don't feed the reputation of the venue by having the crowd that you want, the numbers going to go down.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, if you look at the place, look at Space,
Yeah.
the patio at Space, it's nothing special.
Nothing.
It's very basic,
Yeah.
But these guys, Coloma, Davide, they manage
Absolutely.
to. They have that they have those.
They know
those
the old school
very
style,
low,
and they
loyal
added a good
people
musical
following-
direction.
They take care of these people.
Yeah.
They had the right bookings, but and they just they don't go out of their way. They just they do what they're good at.
Yeah, and
They
they
do
stick
it the
to it.
right way, and it's very successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
And they're smart too because they deal with festivals also, which is really good. So it's a good mix for what they're doing.
I have a lot of
involved.
respect for these guys.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, we were chatting about them earlier. Really good
Speaking
guys.
of festivals, we have South Beach Film
Festival coming up, yeah, absolutely.
May 18th.
SoulBeachFilmFestival.com, 15th through the 18th, yeah,
yes.
on South Beach, first ever film festival. So all your friends,
That's exciting.
Definitely, you can come out and we'll do
For sure.
some
100%.
fun there.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you here towards the end here is if you could describe, and did we ask you that question? If you could describe Miami in one word, what would you say?
Back then or now?
Both.
Back then, magic,
Today,
heavy.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, heavy.
Anything you want to share with the guests and the audience about that you're working on now?
To be honest with you, I don't have much project in nightlife
Yeah.
anymore. Not because one, because I'm aging, of course. I mean, this is
You look good, man.
Yeah, but this is not the same excitement that it used to be. But also for all the reasons that it's very difficult to battle with these people that come and spend so much money to wow people with their venues, and so Miami for me is not the city of the future in terms of nightlife, and I believe that 2025 is going to be a very bloody year for a lot of these operators, because there is not enough space.
Yeah. For the
For
demand.
the 0.01% of
Right.
the population, that the
Goes
clientele
out,
that everybody wants.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
not
So
gonna happen.
I think that I think a lot of people are going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that come from outside don't understand the dynamic of Miami and the fact that for 5 months of the year it's dead.
Yeah.
And whoever's coming to Miami can't afford their venues.
Correct.
And it just at one point there won't be enough space.
Yeah.
For all these venues. I don't know what's
Yeah. And that's where that what we were talking about earlier. Someone comes in wisely, opens up a smaller spot, gets the right old school group, implements that style. They'll be open 7 days.
I will not open it, but I would love to be part of it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So keep me in mind. All right. So you want to look at the camera there and say your name, and you're watching the Miami Made Show.
My name is Laurent Bourgade, with Laurent Bourgade, and I'm watching the Miami Make Show.
I'm on the Miami Made Show.
I am on the Miami Make Show. My bad.
Awesome. Anything else you
Bye-bye.
want to share with us?
I think a lot has been said.
Yeah?